Hi, everybody. Welcome to Conversation with Calvin, We the Species. I've been doing this, by the way, I've been doing this is almost my 500th interview with people on 6 continents. I'm really proud about that. And according to 3 different AIs, I'm now in zero point 0.5 to top 2% in the world in longevity, et cetera, et cetera. And I've never done this kind of a format before. Before I go any further, I'm with KERRY KIRK PFLUGH, who is the executive director of the New Jersey School of Conservation, and that's why we're here. And I've never had to do an emergency call to action for you folks out there, and this is the first case. I don't do politics. This isn't politics. This is New Jersey. This is New Jersey's children and grandchildren, and this is a powerful call to action because we've got to fight, all of us. We've got to fight to keep the New Jersey School of Conservation, which has been around for 77 years. And they do amazing, wonderful things, teaching life, teaching conservation, teaching environment, teaching all these wonderful things. And the crazy world we live in, it could be on the budget chop block. Inexcusable and not acceptable. And we ain't talking about lots of money here. So this is a call to action for all of you out there. It's hugely important. If you, of course, most of my, a chunk of my viewers are right here in Jersey. I'm a Jersey guy, but people all over the world, and that's important because what's happened here could happen there, and there, and there. So this is all important. Kerry and I, we got together. By the way, I got to thank Peter Del Vecchio, a brother of mine in the world of Rutgers, and that's how Peter and I met some years ago through Rutgers, and he's a musician and a spiritualist, and these are all the ingredients. It was great friendship, and Peter let me know about this the other day, and boom, we moved quickly, and Kerry and I chatted the other day to get acquainted, and for me to get some background. So I can't, my fists are clenched because this is important stuff. I have grandchildren and I have a child who's grown up, but it's for them to keep this going. And it's just a couple of bucks, my goodness. So I actually got off the phone before we did this with the governor's office, Governor Sherrill, and left my emotion and my feelings about resolutions 302 and 990 to support the budget to keep this school alive and well and functioning. And Kerry, you got 30, you'll talk about this, 35 years under your belt with NJDEP. And the thing that we talked about the other day, which just blew me away, I've never heard this before, but you visited every town in New Jersey. Nobody's
I
done that.
have, yes. Yes, I have.
Nobody's done that. So we can talk about that. So most importantly, Kerry's going to do this call to action right now. Tell you folks what to do. To go to the website njsoc.org. It's all
And
there. What you folks can do. It's a couple of phone calls. I
that's
did it. It's a couple of phone calls. njsoc.org. A couple of phone calls. Do it. Ground movement to keep this wonderful school around. So my little monologue, wasn't a Johnny Carson official monologue. It wasn't funny because it ain't funny. But the monologue is over. Kerry, why don't you take it and do this call to action for folks?
sure. Thank you, Calvin, and thank you for letting me be on your podcast today. Um, so the call to action that we want to make is an urgent one. The New Jersey School of Conservation, for the first time in 77 years, was zeroed out of the state budget. What this essentially means is that without state funding, the school will have to close. And we have had champions in the legislature who have put in budget resolutions to restore that funding. It's Senate Resolution number 302 and Assembly Resolution number 990. Our champions in the legislature, just so that you know, are Senators Bob Smith and John McKeon and Assemblywoman Alexon Collazo Gill. and we're very grateful to them for their support and advocacy for us. But it's going to take phone calls and emails from all of you to encourage the leadership in our two houses, as well as our governor, to support these resolutions. So if you go to our website, njsoc.org, and right at the top of the homepage, you can click on information that will provide you phone numbers and emails to send your urgent message to them to support these resolutions. And I want to thank you in advance for whatever you can do. We're in the final week, actually 8 days of this campaign to support the School of Conservation's restoration of funding. And so it's as urgent now as it was when we first started this campaign several months ago. So please make those calls, and thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. To back this up and to paint a good picture, I've put together some questions about NJSOC, et cetera, et cetera. So we're just going to rattle this off so people can get a grasp
Sure.
of the stuff you do. So what if people may be hearing about NJSOC obviously for the first time, what exactly is the New Jersey School of Conservation?
So we are actually the state's environmental education center. We have been around for 77 years. We were established in 1949 after the advocacy of a group of educators reaching out to Senator Lytle, Alfred Lytle, and Governor Driscoll, and saying that this abandoned Civilian Conservation Corps camp in Stokes State Forest in Sussex County would be ideal for an outdoor center for young people to learn about conservation, natural resource management, and agriculture, and that there would also be a summer camp for children primarily from urban centers who could come out and learn about the environment, relax in nature, and just have a break from the communities that they were from. And so that was sort of the concept. That was the idea, to make a space for educators to learn and for young people to come and relax and learn about the environment and nature. Since that time, we've evolved as an organization. We've had invited, oh gosh, I think we had six colleges sending their students here for almost 20 years.
Wow.
To be educated. And then the summer camp program actually started in 1950, Camp Wapelani. And we had children from all over the state participating in the very classic traditional camp program that was established in those early years. In the 60s, you may recall that environmental education, that term was first born in actually at the University of Michigan in Ann Arbor. And it was in response to several of the critical environmental concerns that were happening around our country, and a belief that young people needed to understand environmental concepts. And so the concept or the idea was that they would integrate these concepts into the four curriculum areas of science, humanities, social studies, and recreation. And the School of Conservation became one of the kind of models around the country that did this. And we have been doing this ever since that time. We primarily focus on elementary through high school students, although our reach is expanding to younger ages as well as into college. We're focusing on high schools as well as technology and research and science becomes something that young people are in need of learning about. So our clientele is now high schools as well as elementary schools. We also serve teachers through teacher professional development, focusing primarily right now on climate change, but also on other natural resource concepts and topics. And we are open now for the first time to community-based organizations through partnerships that we have with them to use our facility for their own workshops and conferences and meetings. and we also provide programming for them. And then the fifth area that we have is also public programming on the weekends. So those are the five areas. And I think I mentioned research, right? We have a research consortium that we've established with eight colleges and universities who have signed on a partnership with us. And they bring their students here. There's intern opportunities and opportunities to do field study, both as a class and also the professors themselves doing individual research.
Okay, perfect. Wow. Wow. And I want to make an editorial comment because I'm fairly sophisticated in the world of climate and environment. I mentioned to you I went to the first Earth Day, April 22nd, 1970, changed my life in so many different ways, even for what I eat. We talked about that. I became a flexitarian because of part of my commitment to the planet, which is great because it probably sustained and lengthened my life because it's a healthy way to eat, at least for me anyway. But I started a climate group with a friend of mine in Ecuador, and we got people together and we talked about a whole bunch of different things. It was a little bit of a think tank. We did it for a couple of years. Fascinating, the different input and the diversity of our members. I read a million different things on environment constantly, but it's a subtle thing what I've noticed. I don't know if it's subtle, but there's been so much attention paid to keeping the Earth from going over 1.5 degrees heating up.
Mhm.
And so much stuff. However, that over the last couple of years has been, for whatever reasons, I'm not to debate the reasons or anything, but that has been stuck in a back pocket somewhere, and the thrust of the movement and the thrust of concern has gone away from stopping the Earth from going to 1.5, but now finding a way to live with it.
Mhm.
Sustainability, of which NJSOC comes under that umbrella, because we have to find ways to live with it
Right.
because we ain't going to be able to stop it. And that's why, even more and more importantly, your work gets flashlights and searchlights and all kinds of lights shined upon it, because that's the whole thrust for us. We've got to learn to live with it, uh, because it's here. Anyway, just thought I'd mention that. Um, Now to you a little bit. What inspired, Kerry, your lifelong commitment to environmental education? Was there something?
Sure. So I've been very lucky in my life. I had two wonderful parents who were educators, and my father actually was the fifth director of the New Jersey School of Conservation, Dr. John J. Kirk. So he was the one who came here in the early 60s and introduced environmental education as a field here at the School of Conservation and continued the tradition of the summer camp program, but kind of integrating environmental concepts into the kind of traditional camp programs that one would have. And I was a camper from the time I was about 8 years old, lived here on the campus every summer from the time I was five, and then became a counselor and an aquatics director. And I think just the lessons and the people, extraordinary people that were here over the years, scientists and young people who were starting out in their careers, all of that I got to see firsthand. We were also an international center, so people from all over the world were teachers here, and it was kind of like a United Nations in Stoke State Forest. It was lovely. So I was exposed to different cultures and different religions, and as well as understanding the concepts of kind of like one world and a reverence for life. And it was all taught here. And so I think from a very early age, I always knew I was going to go into some aspect of the environment, whether it would be as a writer, an advocate. What that wasn't clear when I was little. But there I ended up at the DEP for 35 years and had a wonderful career there, and can now are very fortunate to be here in this position as the executive director. So I think it was intended from a young age that I was going to end up here.
Destiny.
Destiny, absolutely.
I'm a big Destiny guy. Um, I write books about that.
Yeah,
Spirituality, destiny. This is your destiny.
right.
It's funny. There's a movie that I quote all the time. Here Comes Mr. Jordan. It's a '40s movie. It stars Claude Rains, who I love because
Hmm.
he played Louis in Casablanca, my favorite movie.
Right.
And the story is about it's Robert Montgomery. He was the actor. It's in the '40s, and
Hmm.
he's a precious actor. And he plays a boxer who unfortunately has a terrible accident, but would have survived, except they pulled him out too soon.
Right.
The one of the angels up there pulled him out too soon, and his destiny was he was supposed to uh, be the world boxing champ, and
Hmm.
and so they're now trying to find him a new body to go into and help him fulfill his destiny.
Right.
And
Right.
they actually made a remake with Warren Beatty.
I saw the remake.
Yeah, but the original is priceless. But the whole purpose why I'm telling you this, at the end they do find a body, and they put him in a body, and he becomes the heavyweight champ of the world, and he fulfilled his
His
destiny.
destiny.
And then Claude Rains says something so prophetic and powerful, and for me, it kind of rips my guts out. This is your road, Joe,
Hmm.
and Kerry, this is your road.
It
Uh,
is.
and
It
it's your
definitely
road.
is.
Yeah, yep, yep. So, you won a ton of environmental awards. Does any jump out?
Ah, gosh, awards that, yes, they're I'm very honored to have received them over the years. And, it's not that one jumps out more so than another. It's that there were people who felt that I was doing what I should be doing, and that they nominated me for these awards. And so I'm very grateful to them to have been selected, to have been to be thought of in that regard. Certainly, any awards that one receives from peers and from colleagues are particularly, I think, heartfelt because your friends are saying, "Hey, you're doing a great job," and but thank you for recognizing the awards. They're lovely because they are an acknowledgement that you're on the right path.
Uh, as in my readings about you, you came out of retirement to take on the position of executive director of the school. Why'd you do that?
Well, I actually honestly never really retired. I left the DEP, and I had one day before I started as the executive director for the New Jersey Conference of Mayors. And I was there for about a year and a half, a little bit more than that, and resigned from that position to take on the role of the executive director here. I had led the charge with a group of environmental advocates and academics to save the school of conservation when Montclair turned it back to the state during COVID and felt they could no longer support it. And we were determined as a group, a friends group, to save the school. And with the help of my colleagues in the environmental community and academic community, and to some extent in the business community, we were able to get the attention of several legislators, Senator Bob Smith and Senator McKeon. He was an assemblyman at the time, and they worked with us to convince the governor and the DEP that the school should not be closed. And so we managed to save it. And then when we reformed as a larger organization, not-for-profit organization, I became the executive director. I had been the president of the Friends Group and shifted from that seat to executive director.
Okay. Okay. Um, how about walking us through a typical day for a young person at the
Sure.
school,
Yeah.
and what age groups and what lessons about climate and forest and wildlife and all this stuff, and um, how do you how have you seen children change from this experience?
Yeah. It's a wonderful, it's wonderful to see the kind of transformation happening right before your eyes. But so a typical day, the buses roll up and our staff is there to greet the students. They all come out and very excited to be there. Sometimes a little bit nervous because if they're coming particularly from urban areas, we're in the middle of a forest and there's, it's woods. And so they're nervous about, the critters that they might encounter and, what it's all about. So they get settled and we bring them over to Piney Point, which is an iconic spot within our campus where we have a fire ring that we sit around and we do orientation. We tell them who we are, a little bit about our history, and a little bit about the classes that they'll be taking and how it all operate. And then they go off, and depending on what they've signed up for, they can be here for a day or for a multi-day experience. And they can also have meals here or bring their own food. It really depends. For the day trippers, often they bring their own bagged lunches. And for the multi-day, of course, we give them their three meals. We have a full commercial kitchen with chefs and we take special care of the food that they're eating. Any special diets are taken into account and that sort of thing. As far as the classes that they take, we have on our website right now, if you go to it, there are about 23 classes that are listed. And we actually have about four more that we have to post. So about 27 different classes that the school coordinators can work with our education coordinator in selecting. And again, what they select is based on what the school feels their students need. We are really extension of a classroom. We're a field trip, yes, but all of our classes are correlated to the core curriculum standards. And so when they take a class here, like I said, it's like an extension of their classroom, and they're fulfilling their science or math obligations with the classes that they're taking. As far as favorite classes go, there's so many, and it really kind of depends on what it is, you love the most when you think about school. As a humanities person, anything that allows me to sit quietly and do writing or drawing or photography, that's personally something that I enjoy. But I also really think that one of the most popular classes is our water ecology class. I mean, think about it. The kids get a chance to, go into a stream and get wet. They're not supposed to, but they always do. Um, and look under rocks and learn about the critters that live there and tell us what quality the water is. And then we talk about their waterways in their homes and how they're similar and they're different and how water gets delivered to their homes. And, so there's a whole kind of evolution, from, what they're looking at, to how water ends up at their tap when they turn the water on. So that's a favorite class. I think the other class that the kids like that I hear a lot about is the fish ecology class because they learn not only about fish and the aquatic environment, but they have an opportunity to fish, and we're able to catch fish and take a look at them and feel them. And some of the kids, for the first time ever, are catching fish. Um, so it's a very memorable,
Yeah.
kind of profound experience for these folks. And I would say that some of the other classes, one of the other classes is what we call our action socialization experience. This is an opportunity where the kids problem solve through like a ropes course and climbing wall. There's team building that happens. And what you see really is children who may be spending an awful lot of time on their devices, their phones, and so on, and not a lot communicating with one another. And so they're given a challenge, and they have to put down their phones and figure out how do we solve this problem? How do we work together? And new relationships get formed in these very simple activities that I hope carry back into the classroom and into their lives. That's something we don't track directly, but I do know that we see changes in the kids when they're here, and they're very excited about the classes that they take.
Nice, 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 nice. Um, how does climate change affect New Jersey specifically? And I always worry about, I'll tell you a funny story, in my, I live in Western Monmouth County, and I'm worried about the rising of the sea levels, and I wanted to be glib about it. So this is one of my favorite jokes. It's not funny, but I tell folks that, living in Western Monmouth County, 22 miles from the ocean, one day I'm actually going to have beachfront property. And for five
Yeah,
days, my house is going to be worth millions of dollars because I
right.
have beachfront property. And then after 5 days, my house is gone.
Mm, right.
So that, how does climate change affect New Jersey? Uh, what are the challenges we face today that we didn't really face 50 years ago? And understanding watersheds and wetlands and forests, how does that affect future health? I'm just throwing, a
Sure.
potpourri of things at you.
We do have climate change lessons that schools can choose from. One of the teacher professional development grants that we have through Ramapo from the Department of Education is a teacher professional development K to 12 training program that we offer workshops to provide tools and resources to teachers to in all of the curriculum areas to talk about climate change in a way that gives children, uh, I guess, resources or the ability to problem solve and feel hopeful, that know that they can adapt, but also to be able to make intelligent decisions, and understand, why we need to be aware of a warming climate and some of the impacts, some of the changes that we'll have. I mean, I think that, you talk about New Jersey and you mentioned the coastal area, and certainly that's the obvious area of impact. But up here in the forest, we're seeing invasive species affect our native trees. We are seeing, warmer summers and warmer winters, where once upon a time, every winter, the lakes would freeze. And now we're lucky if that happens every, 4 or 5 years. And the snow base isn't what it used to be. And so, right now, as you might know, we are in a drought. I think it's a 2-year drought that we're in. And so we need much more precipitation, both in the winter and the summer. I think that the agricultural community, if you spoke with them, they would certainly talk about how it's becoming more challenging to grow the food that we need to eat. And so we do talk about these things, but we don't do it in a scary way because we don't want children to be frightened and feel helpless. We do it in a thoughtful way, in a problem-solving way. So if this is happening, what can we do? What are the things actions that we can take? What are the resources we need to sustain ourselves and to adapt to our changing climate? Because, it is changing and we will have to adapt. So that's really the focus of climate change initiatives here at the School of Conservation.
Okay. Just another overview of the current funding crisis. First time in 77 years, the budget doesn't include funding for the school. How serious is this a threat? And could the school really close
Yes.
permanently?
It's an
Uh,
extremely serious threat.
and
While we do bring in revenue from our programs, from our school programs, our public programs, and so on, it's not sufficient to take care of, to operate the school and to take care of the buildings that are, 90 years old. They were built by the Civilian Conservation Corps during the Depression, and we are in a position of maintaining them. We inherited buildings. There's 63 buildings on our campus,
Wow.
and we inherited buildings that had been neglected and under funded for many years. And so we are in the process of trying to restore these buildings so that they can continue for another 90 years. New roofs are needed, electrical upgrades, plumbing, you name it. And we've done a pretty good job in the last 3 or so years that we've been managers. And I believe the state has invested about 4 million-ish, maybe a little bit more than that, in the 3 years we've been operating. And we were able to not only operate programs and restore our programmings, but we were able to restore a number of the buildings so that we could have programming. And we need to continue to do that. I mean, it's not only about restoration, but it's about maintenance. I mean, we're in the middle of a forest, and if you walk away, these buildings will deteriorate very rapidly. So yes, it's urgent.
It's urgent.
If we don't get the funding, we will close, and we will have to turn back this facility to the state. And I don't know what they'll do with it. There will be a certain amount of money that they're going to have to spend annually. We have a wastewater treatment plant on site. We have a solar field on site.
Wow.
Rutgers has a climate weather station on site. And then all these buildings need to be maintained and secured.
Yeah. So actually, in some obscene way, it'll cost the state more to close it than to keep it open. Is that a valid thought?
Well, I think depending on how you define costing more. I mean, I think it will cost more to the children and educators and people who use our facility, here in New Jersey, absolutely, because they'll no longer have the wonderful programming that I think is urgently needed now more than ever, as our society faces tremendous problems, and we need a population that will be prepared to be able to rise to the occasion and address these problems and understand ecosystems and their individual places in the world. So that's an immeasurable cost. As far as the physical cost, that is being calculated. I mean, there are obligations that we took on, that we agreed to take on. There is a dam that needs to be upgraded, since it was reclassified after Superstorm Sandy. The lake needs to be maintained. There's going to be security, and like I said, we have 63 buildings, and roof's going to fall, going to cave in if we don't maintain them. So, I think that there will be a huge cost to the state, not the least of which is the
Wow.
loss of the
I know.
programming. I think that's the biggest
I
loss
know. I know.
and cost.
I know. An off-topic question, completely off topic. I asked this because I borrowed it from one of my favorite journalists, completely off topic. You don't even have to answer it, but it's kind of so here goes. Excluding family or friends, somebody living or dead you'd like to spend a day with. It could be one, two, three. There's no rules. A little provocative.
I think Eleanor Roosevelt.
Funny you said that. It's so funny you said that. I'm a little bit of a student of Eleanor's.
Are you?
Yes, I am. Yes, I am. I don't think enough coverage on just how great this woman was.
I know. I agree.
Four
Extraordinary.
terms with her husband, and it wasn't an ideal situation for her.
Right.
And she endured for the sake of the country.
Yeah.
And her husband's gone, and it's her energy and spirit that's in the United Nations Charter, and
Hmm.
how the Russians got up and walked out when they were composing it, and she stood up to them. This is a woman of the ages,
Yes.
beyond, and I get a kick out of her last 10 or 12 years. It's funny you said that. because her last 10, 12, 14 years, she lived with a doctor, her doctor.
Mhm.
I don't know if you knew that.
I didn't.
No, and she lived with her doctor when she decided when she was done with the UN, she wanted to move to New York. She
Hmm.
needed a doctor. She had some health issues, and she
Right.
found this doctor who was 15 years younger than her. And what began was the greatest friendship in her life, even better than Hickok. You hear
Right.
about those stories and stuff.
Hmm.
And so it was a friendship,
Right. Right.
intellectual and
Yes.
spiritual. It was a friendship, and eventually, Doctor, his name was Gavevich.
Hmm.
He met a woman, Edna, and they
Hmm.
got married, and the three of them decided to share a brownstone.
That's amazing.
It's an amazing story,
Yes.
and the funny thing about that is, so they're living together. I guess she was on the third or fourth floor, or whatever. She had her own thing, and she's with a married couple there, blah blah, and she just felt so helpless. So one day, Edna was preparing dinner,
Hmm.
and Eleanor went into the kitchen and said, "I want to help." She'd never been in the kitchen in her life before. I want to help. So Edna said, "Well, you know what? Why don't you just like wash the lettuce?" She said, "All right, okay." And Edna walked out and came back 10 minutes later, and there was 6 inches of water on the kitchen floor. At which time, Edna said to Eleanor, "Your days in the kitchen are over." True story. It
That's
was a
great.
beautiful friendship,
That's
and
great.
it endured for the three of them. It's just so special. But that's
Very
funny
nice.
you said,
Hmm.
Eleanor. I spent a chunk of the pandemic watching an intimate history of the Roosevelts.
Hmm.
Theodore Franklin,
Hmm.
Eleanor, by Ken Burns, who I love.
Hmm.
And I just kept watching it again and again. And so I'm a little bit of into Eleanor, and even watching that, appreciating just how great she was,
Right.
truly. Anyway, um, last two questions, because you know what, we could, and you can come back and talk
Sure.
when this thing gets resolved. And by the way, we can do more things together
Great.
about
That'd be
this.
great.
I'm a big fan of raising consciousness in general. That's one of my missions, to raise consciousness and the stuff you
Hmm.
do. So we may have an ongoing thing here. What gives you hope, and what gives you what worries you most?
What gives me hope are the children. I see their beautiful little faces when they're here, and how much fun they're having, how much they're learning, and I really believe that it will make a difference in their lives. Exactly how, who knows? You don't know how this kind of sticks and where the lessons will manifest themselves later on in life. But it's the children,
Okay,
definitely.
okay.
Adults are the problem. We lose our magic somewhere along the way, and we lose our way. We get off track, and so I think that bringing adults here for programming helps to get folks back on track, and I hear it as much from them as I do from the children.
Good. Perfect. Round one is done. Hopefully to be continued, and we'll talk about
Thank
that.
you.
I'm going to go to work on this to get this up and out so people can see how important this is. And I'm thrilled that we met.
Me too. Thank you, Calvin.
There's been wonderful concentric circles here. Your journey is a little bit part of my journey, et cetera, et cetera. So thank you, thank you, thank you, Kerry.
And thank you very much, Calvin. This was great. Thank you.
My
I really
pleasure.
appreciate it.
My pleasure. Don't leave. I'm just gonna stop recording. We'll do a 2-minute wrap.
Okay.
Okay, perfect.